trouble and you need a helping hand, and nothing's going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yeah, baby, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got a friend. If the sky above you should turn dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind should begin to blow, keep your head together and call my name out loud now. Soon I'll be knocking upon your door. You just call up my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. Oh yes, I will see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, yeah. All you got to do is call, and I'll be there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, ain't it good to know that you got a friend? People can be so cold. They'll hurt you and desert you. Well, they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh yeah, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running. See you again. Oh baby, don't you know about winter, spring, summer, or fall? Hey, now all you got to do is call. Lord, I'll be there. Yes, I will. You got a friend. You got a friend. Yeah. Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Oh yeah, yeah, you got a friend.
Well, good afternoon. Those of you that don't have seats, please find one. It's wonderful to look out there and see so many familiar faces. I'm reminded of a story I heard from Garrison Keillor, one of my favorite storytellers, about a man who was a celebrity in the mythical town of Lake Wobegon. He was a celebrity because he was a farmer that had been struck by lightning twice. And as Garrison Keillor said, "Now there is a man that can appreciate a blue sky." When we have someone who passes as unexpectedly and as rapidly as Jo did, it's a little bit like getting struck by lightning, where it's a bolt that comes out, we don't expect it, it's a sudden change. But we are here today to truly celebrate the blue sky that we knew as Jo Lauricella, and to share stories of what she meant to us, of how she touched us, of how she changed our lives. Jo and many of the people here are students and practitioners of Scientology. And just as each religion has its own traditions in service and philosophy, I want to touch on that today and explain how we're going about the service today. Scientology is a religion that is closer to the Eastern religions of like Buddhism or Hinduism, where it's a study of the true essence of ourself as a spiritual entity, as a spiritual being. In Western culture, the idea of religion is normally a Judeo-Christian concept of that, where it's the worship of a supreme being and the following of the commands and dictates and being in grace with a supreme being. And in Scientology, your relationship with God is totally left up to yourself, and everybody's understanding and relationship of God is their own relationship to God. But this is about getting to know yourself as a spiritual being in the true essence of who you are. And it's a scientific study. It's not just a theory or belief system. It's a system where you get to know truly who you are. And Jo had traveled the path of Scientology up to some of the more higher levels of truly understanding who she was as a spiritual being. And I want to quote something that L. Ron Hubbard wrote from a book called The Fundamentals of Thought, which said, "The individual man is divisible into three parts. The first of these is the spirit. The second of these parts is the mind. And the third of these parts is the body." And later in an article on Dianetics, its relationship to Scientology, he explains that the spirit is the person himself, not his body or his name, the physical universe, his mind, or anything else. That which is aware of being aware. The identity, which is the individual, the spirit, is the most familiar to one and all as you. So, what we are really here to do is to acknowledge that Jo's body has died. And when we say Jo is with us in spirit, it's not a metaphorical statement. Jo is with us in spirit. Okay? And the form that we knew Jo by, the twinkle in the eye, the laugh, the person we could hug, the person that we saw walk in and light up the room, that is gone. But the essence of who Jo is, the actual personality, still lives on. And as far as what's going to happen to Jo, that is a discussion of another sort. But we are here to celebrate Jo and how she touched our lives, what she meant to us, and share with each other that essence. And the way the service is going to go today is we have about 4 people that are going to pre-selected that are going to come up and say some things that ask to do that. And then we're actually going to open this up to anybody else who would like to share a story, share how Jo touched their lives. We do ask that you don't give any 20 to 30-minute speeches. We do have a timetable we want to stay with, but we also want to have everybody have an opportunity to speak that wants to speak. So please, if you have something that you'd like to say, just raise your hand. We'll bring you up from that standpoint. But to get things rolling, I'm going to ask Roberta Perry, who is one of the founders of Toastmasters, or the Renaissance Speakers Toastmasters Club, to come up and kick things off for us. Roberta, please come on up.
Thanks, Les.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Such a pleasure to see all of you here today, especially 2 gentlemen sitting here at this table who spent the morning in Guadalajara with District 34 having breakfast and are now here with us this afternoon. Michael, Charlie, thank you so much. And of course, our district director, Janet, you're doing an amazing job, you and your team. Thank you so much for everything. I miss Jo so much. I miss her passion. I miss her sense of humor. I miss what she did for me personally, because when Richard Stewart and I started Renaissance Speakers, Jo was one of those people that just automatically took to Renaissance Speakers, and she became, well, once we got rid of Richard, she became our second president, Richard being our first. She lent us her spirit, her enthusiasm, and over the years, it never failed to inspire me what she would teach us, her passion, her enthusiasm. But what I want to share with you today is a story of Ted Cochran. Those of you who are Toastmasters know that Ted is a past international president of this organization from Ireland. So he shared a synergistic love with Jo of causing trouble. If you know Ted, he loved to cause trouble. If you know Jo, she always caused trouble, and we loved her for that. When Jo passed, I sent Ted a note, as well as one of the past district governors of District 1 sent Ted a note. And he responded with this particular note that I want to share with you today. Jo Lauricella has passed away. Hearing this message from my friends Laura and Roberta in Los Angeles, I was filled with disbelief. The friendly, good-humored, and very effective Toastmaster leader that I knew was no longer with us. My thoughts immediately flashed to our first meeting at Toastmasters International Senior District Officers Training in Las Vegas in August of 2011. Ted, I was conducting the marketing module and decided I would be a little provocative. Those of you know Ted know that he's always provocative. So going around the room commenting on each district's achievements, I came to where Jo was seated, representing District 52, knowing full well that the district had been very successful for the 5 years up to 2008. A wonderful achievement, but not so successful after that. I remarked, District 52, but your district hasn't been distinguished forever. Well, red rag to a bull would not describe the reaction I received. Jo and the team rose to the challenge. Provocation, and kept humorously reminding me all through the year that they would prove me wrong. And they did. The district achieved distinguished status in 2011 and 2012 under Carolyn Goldman as district governor. In 2013 with Linda Kata Kumagai. So how could the still very highly motivated Jo Lauricella not do even better by leading the district to select distinguished status in 2013-2014, the first time since 2001. What a remarkable 3 years in the history of District 52. Now Jo is gone from us, but her memory will stay with all of us who knew and loved her. Now a poem from Ted. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day. Unseen, unheard, but always near. Still missed, still loved, and very dear. May she rest in peace. Ted Cochran, past international president of Toastmasters International. Mr. Lansman.
Thank you. Thank you, Roberta. And next we're going to hear from the other founder of Renaissance Speakers, who was there in the beginning with our club, Mr. Richard Stewart.
Thank you, Lance. And sorry, Roberta, you're stuck with me. Haven't gotten rid of me yet. As has already been heard, you can't mention the name Jo Lauricella and within seconds hear about her excellence in Toastmasters. And it's my honor today to acknowledge the life of Jo, the impactful and wonderful life she had. And you know, you're thinking, as with any memorial service, the words just, they don't come. It's what do you say? How do you say it? And what can you say? And can I just cut to the chase? Because I think for me, Joe, I know you're with us. I wrote a few words here down, but when it comes down to it, it's just 3 words that I want to say, that I know all of us want to say, and that's I love you. And my only regret is I didn't say it 6 months ago. And I just, we all think that, what we should have done. But all that being said, and I consulted with Jo, and she said, go for it. I think it's only appropriate that with Jo's experience in Toastmasters and her long life with Toastmasters, that I evaluate her life with the basic manual here. Be a coach here. I mean, it's only natural. I mean, I'll just go by the book. I look. By the way, I couldn't find a project that handled that maybe we can international. But I found the icebreaker works good. The first speech that you give in Toastmasters is called the icebreaker. You introduce yourself, and it covers what strong points does the speaker already have. Jo, you were born a strong speaker. I mean, she came to our club. I mean, she was powerful, and you know, Roberta mentioned it. But we started Renaissance Speakers, and I kicked it off as the president to start. But Roberta took me aside and consulted with me. She said, Richard, I have to tell you that, you know, the success or failure of the club depends on who you select as president, the first elected president, to carry this thing forward. No pressure, Roberta. But I tell you, Jo made it easy. It was just no question. She was the one, and she was the first elected president of Renaissance Speakers, and I think we should just give her a hand, because I know she's here, for what she set up and just took off. So I'll just continue down the manual here. It says, did the speakers talk clearly and audibly? I mean, we're talking an actor. A drama queen. She owned the stage. She taught us so much about speaking and stage presence. And I get to thank you for that again, Jo. It says here, what could the speaker have done differently that would improve her life? I wouldn't change a thing, Jo. All I can do is thank you, and I am looking forward to your next brand new icebreaker. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
The next person I want to introduce worked with Jo for one of the years when she was district director of District 52. It's the current district director of District 52 Toastmasters, Janet Walters. Come on up. Please welcome Janet.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here to speak about Jo Lauricella. I remember her from way back when before she became an LGM, a Lieutenant Governor of Marketing. I saw how inspired and how ambitious she was. Then she became the LGM, Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, and she hustled and hustled and hustled. I watched her grow through the years. And when she became, or right before she became district governor, she asked me if I would like to be the LGM. I was shocked. I was surprised. She saw something in me that I didn't see. But of course, if Jo Lauricella asked me, of course I'm going to say yes. So I took her up on that challenge. And I have to say, Jo saw something in me that I didn't see. And she always told me, you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to believe in the goals that you're achieving. And that comes, in my term, it was starting up clubs. And thanks to her and our teamwork, we were able to get to select distinguished when she was district governor. And what I really also appreciate about Jo is that she was always having fun and making trouble, or making trouble, having fun. She always did that, and boy, was she a troublemaker. And you know what? She never, ever backed down. If anyone dared challenge her, she would let them have it. Seriously, she was incredible. And I'm sad that she left the planet, but at the same time, I know that she lives on. She will live on, and I feel, and I'm grateful that she thought of me as a leader. And she also gave me the Blossom Award. I was so proud to get that Blossom Award. And, she doesn't give those kind of awards very often, but she gave a recognition to all the different leaders that were growing on the leadership path. And she made us all feel important and all very special. So, God bless you, Jo. I know you're here. Thank you. Your legacy lives on.
A lot of us here are Toastmasters, and we know Jo through our Toastmasters experience, but she had another part of her life that she was very dedicated to, which was her work. And we're very fortunate to have, I think, her boss with us today, who's Tom Lavatier. Tom, please come up, Dave. Dave, come on up. Apologize for that. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello. Well, this is cool because I get to see the other side of Jo that, frankly, we didn't have, we never saw her actually speak at Toastmasters, and we heard all about it, of course. But it's really cool to see this other side of her and see the similarities, the troublemaker. I went, oh, she was causing trouble there too. Well, Jo came to us as a true executive. She ran nursing homes back east. And she would talk a lot about that and had brought these ideas and how, her successful actions at running nursing homes into our company. And basically, she was responsible for making the phone ring. And that phone had to ring a lot in order for us to make it. And we dealt with the real estate market. And while it was growing and growing, you all remember the bubble in the 2005, 2006. And it was just going crazy. We were having all kinds of leads, and that phone was ringing off the hook, and then it went pop, and the phone stopped ringing. I don't think there was a home sold in Los Angeles for a period of months. Nobody could get any loans. And Jo and I, we sat down. Well, we're going to have to outcreate this, or we're not going to survive. And she stepped up to the plate, and she made hundreds of phone calls, and every week, and that's what did it. She went around and spoke at real estate offices religiously, and even to the point where I was like, I would go and take her place when she would go to Florida, and I would speak, and I'd go, I don't think this is doing any good. And I'd say, I think we stopped doing this. I don't think it's doing any good. And she'd go, oh, no, we got to keep doing this, And a couple of times I didn't go when she was gone, and sure enough, the stats dropped, and went, okay, yeah, Jo, you got to keep doing that. And she really did her job. She was passionate. Everybody in the office loved her. She was motherly to some of the younger girls there. Took them under her wing, and caused trouble. And she had a little dog named Dundee, who became the office mascot. And Jo and I had a time when the dog would bark all the time, and there'd be people on the phone, the dog would be barking away, and I said, Jo, we got to handle this barking dog. And the dog used to be my dad's dog, so I didn't have much to say about, him coming to the office or not. But eventually we figured out how to train him not to bark when, while he was in the office. According to Burton, he barks a lot now because Burton has him. And Jo actually became a part of our family because Karen and I would have to go to Florida ourselves, and there were times when, our young kids would be at home, and I asked her to go and stay with them and look after them and drive them to school, which she did. And, there was a life and a personality that Jo brought to the room and to the company that is direly missed right now. So I can join you all and everybody in our company with Toastmasters today and telling Jo that we do miss her incredibly, and on the other hand, we know she's doing really well too. So thank you for having this for us, and I appreciate you all. Thank you.
I think for a lot of us, we've got to know Jo in the latter part of her life because she grew up in Kansas, She had family in New Jersey. I know she lived in Ohio. But one of the things for me that always stood out with Jo was that she talks about when she was in college, she met the love of her life, Tom. And they were married. And one of the things, and then Tom passed away, unfortunately, but Jo, it was like that was her mate. That was her soulmate, right? That she wasn't looking for anybody else. That was it. And for me, I think having had a relationship like that, what a precious experience to have where you feel like you've truly found the person that you're to be with and the strength that she got. And I really feel that strength between she and Tom carried her through the rest of her life. And it was one of the things that she really rested on as that completed her. And one of the interesting things was when we were trying to find out some information, who's like her best friend, who does she stay with? You know, we got to find somebody. She knew everybody and was active in all these places, but there was not one person that she sort of hung with that I know Jo's life story. She was constantly creating the next day. And who was there? She was creating it with, from that standpoint. And I don't know, I can just only say that I would imagine that part of the fact that a void that many times doesn't get filled has a tendency for us to cling to people we meet. I think Jo's void of that love and completeness was filled with Tom, and she went on through life just feeling complete from that standpoint. With that, is there anybody that would like to come up and say a few words about Jo? Serena, please come up.
For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Serena McCullough, and I've known Jo for about 4 years. I met her in Toastmasters, and I was immediately struck by her confidence and her master of the stage. I was not necessarily a timid person, but compared to her, I was. What I remember the most about her is, I don't know if any of you know this or not, but she loved mysteries. And that kind of was my life too, because that's what got me into it. When I was a kid, I started reading Nancy Drew. And for me, I don't know what it was about the thrill of not knowing who did it and the figuring it out. And my game was always to know what happened at the end. And when we were sitting and talking and she was sharing this with me, I realized that she had that too. That desire to work it out, to figure it out. And we connected on that. The second thing that I will never forget is Italian food. I don't know how many of you can say this, but she cooked for my family once. And the sauce, I don't like alcohol. Anyone that knows me, I hate it. I really dislike it. And when I saw her in the kitchen making it, and I saw her taking the wine bottle and pouring some in there and pouring some more, I thought, what are you doing? You're ruining it. And she said, just wait, just wait. When it got served to the table and we were all sitting there, we ate it, I was so shocked at how amazing this has tasted. I've had more pasta in my life than probably any person at this young age should have. And it was phenomenal. I don't know where she learned to cook the way she did. I know she was from a big family, that's what I heard. And I will never forget those two things about her and that we connected.
Glenn, please come on up. Glenn Thornton, folks.
I came up here to frighten Janet, because every time I come here, she has no idea what I'm going to say. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. Jo aggravated me. But I aggravated her too. I don't know we had a very tumultuous relationship. And I really didn't get to know her until I was area director. And I remember one time before a contest, she sat me down and she said, Glenn, you need to start an advanced Toastmasters club in San Fernando Valley. And that's all she said. Then she walked in, we had the contest, And then they did the district announcements, and she said, by the way, Glenn's going to start an advanced club in the San Fernando Valley. She kind of knew how to push my buttons. She really did. And I mean, she was my favorite district director until now. Sorry, Jenna. Yes. Of course, Jenna too. And Lance, yeah, you'll be the next one. But there was something about her. I remember we were starting the DTM club, and we were sitting around having like a mastermind. And she pointed to me and she said, Glenn, I want you to bring Zen-Prov back to life. Zen-Prov had 0 members. And again, I aggravated her, she aggravated me. I said, I hate that club. There's nobody I even like in that club. She goes, Glenn, you're going to do it. I said, I don't like anybody. I said, okay, I'll make a deal. You send me the list of those people, because you have to have the 3 originals, right? If I like any of those 3 people, then I'll do it. She did it. She sent the 3 people. I signed them up. I signed 5 more people up, and we created a club. It's now called Improv Masters. And it's still around because Jo actually put that to me. She knew how to push my buttons farther than anybody else could. Really, she did. DTM Club, the same thing. She says, Glenn, I need 1 more member. So I'll go get a member. I'll bring one in. Here's a member. Glenn, I need another member. Okay, I'll bring one. I'm making phone calls. I'm getting people to sign up. Next thing I know, I signed up 12 members. Didn't even know it. She keeps on telling me there's only 1 more. But it was a wonderful, tumultuous, aggravating relationship that I had with her. And the best thing about it was, even though she knew I was a wild card, for some reason, exactly, they said, you're still a wild card. Even though I'm still a wild card, and she knew I was a wild card, she got me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just went blank. Come on. Alicia, come on up. Yeah.
Hi. Most of you know Jo through Toastmasters, as do I. However, I knew Jo way before Toastmasters. I knew Jo, I first met her when I was 11 years old. She worked at a small company for my father. They worked in Glendale on 100 North Brown Boulevard. So if you look for Community Bank right there on the corner in Glendale, you will notice there's a 4th floor. That's where they worked. They worked at a small company called Stryker Systems. So the 2 brothers, the Stryker brothers, that ran that company is where they worked. My dad was a collections officer, and Jo was his senior. And they worked together hand in hand very well. And I would help my dad out from time to time, do some filing and, administrative things. And then when I have a problem or something, or I was bored and had nothing to do, because what does an 11-year-old do at a company? I didn't have cell phones, none of that. So he'd go, oh, go see if Jo needs help. Now, this was way before Toastmasters, so I was kind of shy and didn't know Jo as well and didn't feel comfortable going up to seeing her. But she would walk by all the time with a great big smile on her face, her nice bob hairstyle. She was just this bubbly, warm, enthusiastic person. Many years later, when I was a teenager, she had switched companies. She worked for a software company. And my entire family worked at that same software company. And now she was an executive at a different company, at this software company. And she had the good fortune of working with my family again. And again, I got to see her and meet her and greet her and have lots of fun watching her as an executive have fun and make trouble in this huge, large software company. So I've known her for a very long time. And then after that, we rarely saw each other because my parents worked somewhere else, as did she, and then she ended up moving away. She moved to Ohio, and she was living out there. And from time to time, I would ask my dad, hey, Dad, remember Jo? Where's Jo? Where is she? Oh, she lives in Ohio now with her husband, Tom, and, they're having a lot of fun out there, and they're doing great things out there. And I thought, oh, that's cool. And then one day, Jo lost Tom, and my parents got the call that Jo had lost Tom. And my parents were there for Jo in her time of need when Tom was no longer there. And my dad and Jo worked together closely for a very long time. And I treated Jo like my aunt, that I know, my Italian aunt, because I'm not Italian. And she's just this great person, great personality. So it wasn't until way later, fast forward to 7.5 years ago, I was in Toastmasters, I was brand new. My dad and I joined together, which was great. And there I was at my first Toastmaster contest. And who was there? Was Jo. And I found Jo! I was so excited to see her because it had been so long since we'd seen each other. And we kept in touch ever since, and she helped me. And then one day, she tapped me on the shoulder. And she said, I think you're ready. And I said, ready? Ready for what? Oh, you have this great quality of you, great leadership skills, and I've known you for a very long time, and I think you're ready to be a contest chair. And I said, oh, that sounds fun. What do you do? Without hesitation, I said yes. And I thought when Jo Lauricella was the second in command and Linda Kodakumagai was district governor, Linda Kodakumagai, her theme for the fall conference at the Burbank Castaways restaurant was Aloha. It was a Hawaiian themed. And Jo was the one that got me to chair that entire big conference of over 100 Toastmasters. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone to do it. So Jo became like my right-hand person and told me, I will guide you, I will help you, I will be there for you. And I did it without a hitch, and it went off beautifully, and was one of the best conferences that we ever had. And truly, Jo was picking the right person, considering that I am a true Hawaiian. It's in my blood. And then the following year, she was going to be district governor. She came to me again, and she said, I'm looking for a crack team, people, and I know that you did so good with the fall conference and then with the spring conference. And I said, what do you need? She goes, well, I need people under me to be an area governor. And I said, what's that entail? What is that? So she explained to me briefly what an area governor was, and she told me, and I got nervous, but then I said, you know what? Yeah, the nervousness will go away, the fear will go away, and Jo will be there every step of the way helping me along. And I had no problem with that. I said, you know what? So I went home excitedly telling my parents, guess what? Dad, Jo got me to be an area governor. He goes, what does that mean for me? What else do I have to do? And I said, you don't have to do everything. Jo's going to help me. Jo is going to be the one that helps me. And she'll do everything. And he goes, why did you want to take on such a high leadership responsibility? I said, because, Dad, we've been there for Jo, and she's been throughout our lives. And she's like an aunt. She's like a family member. Even though she's not part of our family, she is part of our family. And I would be remiss if I didn't help Jo. My main thing here is to help Jo, because I want to help her succeed. And he goes, that's a valid point, so go ahead. As long as Jo helps you and you help her, that's fine. That's what we did. I became an area governor, and she got to select distinguished, and she helped me along the way as an area governor. Then the following year, I became division governor. And here's the funny thing. Most of you may not know this, especially if you're a Toastmaster. When Jo was living in Ohio, she and her husband were Toastmasters together. And they had a really good relationship. That's where she got into Toastmasters and had fun with it. But after Tom passed away, she decided she wanted to make a fresh start and start all over again. So what did she do? She decided to move out to Los Angeles. And at the same time, it was her daughter, Jessica, that encouraged her and said, Mom, every time you and Dad went to a Toastmaster meeting, you lit up the room when you came home. You were so excited and had smiles on your faces. And I think you should do that again when you're moving. You're making a fresh new start. You should restart Toastmasters, because that's something that's going to help you heal and get better. And when she moved out here, she started Toastmasters. And she'd been in for 28 years, she'd been a Toastmaster, dedicated to Renaissance speakers, to starting the DTM Club, to making our district select distinguished, to mentoring many of us right here in this room, and to encouraging me to move up the leadership skill ladder. And thanks to her, by the spring conference, I'm going to be a distinguished Toastmaster and dedicate my award to her and my dad, because those two were instrumental in helping me get to where I need to be, and she helped me along the path. And I know that she's here with us, shining down, looking at us, saying, way to go to all of us, because we're doing the right thing, celebrating her life.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? Come on up. In the back, right? Yeah.
Hi. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janice Ogata. I have not known Jo as long as Alethea has, but I'd like to share a few of my memories of Jo. I've been a Toastmaster for 6 years now, and when I first met Jo, I thought, wow, who is this person? She's so smiley, and she's so bubbly, and she's really enthusiastic. And when I met her, it was at an area contest at a fire station, and she confided something in me. She said, you know, Janice, I'm one of those weird people. And I said, weird? How come? She said, you know, Toastmasters and public speaking is the number one fear that people have. People would rather be dead than go and give a public speech. And she said to me, I'm one of those weird people because I don't have any fear. I like talking. I love giving speeches. I love meeting new people. And it was really interesting to meet her at the beginning of my Toastmaster career because, like Alethea said, she would just kind of reel you in, but you didn't know you were being reeled in. She said to me, so what are you doing? Like, how long have you been a member? And I'm like, oh, not that long. This is my first contest, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh, well, you know, if you love people as much as I love people, and if you love public speaking as much as I love public speaking, you really need to take on an area governor or a president role or, you know, a vice president of membership role. And she was just really, really inspiring because she made me feel very welcome and very loved. And I'm sure she did that with all of you. But I just wanted to just say a little remembrance because I told her, I don't think you're weird. I said, I love people. I love to talk in front of people. I love public speaking. So just know that I don't think you're weird. And I'm honored to meet you. And I hope that I can be as weird as you. So Jo, here's to all the weirdos. Here's to all the weirdos in this room. And thank you for letting me be here. Thank you.
Naomi Connors.
I joined Toastmasters in the end of 1997, and Jo wasn't there at that time. She was not active in the club. And in listening to all of you, I imagine maybe that's when she was in Ohio or elsewhere. But I met my husband, a man that I married and later divorced, but we're not going to talk about that today. But he knew Jo, and he would mention her from time to time in such glowing terms that I had this image of this amazing woman that I had never met. And when I finally did, I wasn't disappointed. This was an amazing and beautiful woman. Did you ever meet somebody in whose presence you relax? They calm you. They just make you feel good. You know they love you. That you know the goodness that they're just projecting towards you. And that's how I felt about Jo. Jo was a very private person. And over the years, I would try to get together with her many times, and she was just busy. She was always busy. And it was really, really hard to pin her down. Let's have dinner. Let's have lunch. Let's have coffee. And there were a few times that we actually did succeed in getting together. And one of them was at a restaurant called Wooden Vine, right next to the W Hotel in Hollywood. At the time, her son-in-law was the executive chef there. And her daughter, who was in the restaurant business, I'm not sure what capacity, was also involved in that restaurant in some way. And he wasn't going to be there one night, but Jo invited me to have dinner. She wanted me to just see this place. It was really beautiful and very classy, very New Yorkish for Hollywood, I thought. And we went there and we opened the menu, which was amazing and huge, and we started selecting the things that we wanted to eat. And every time the waiter came over, he said, "No, you don't want that." And this went on the entire meal. We would pick something, and he'd go, "No, you don't want that." And we finally found out at the end, all the way through to dessert, that her son-in-law had let the kitchen know that his mother-in-law was going to be there, and that they should treat her accordingly. Well, I think after the evening was over, we'd probably tasted every fabulous dish they had on that menu. It was one of the most memorable moments of spending time with Jo. It was just a great lot of fun. And that's what she was to me. She was somebody to have dinner with every once in a while, and she loved food, and I guess we had that in common, I don't know. But that will always stay with me, just the joy of being in her presence. And just one more thing. In Toastmasters, every once in a while, somebody will give a speech that stays with you forever, that you never forget. You take something away from it, and you never forget it. And for me, it was a speech that Jo gave about friendship, where she talked about what a friend is and her definition of it. And it came out of a very sad event in her life with a friend of hers. But she learned a lesson from it. She said, a friend is someone you know, someone you like, and someone you trust. And it sounds like really simple words, but boy, that has stuck with me forever and has really helped me define my friendships and see where they are and who they are. So, thank you for everything you gave me, Jo, and you gave our club and our district and your family especially.
Thank you. Kathy Oliver, please.
Okay, I'm going to do something very different. Jo loved Downton Abbey. Does anybody watch Downton Abbey? Fans? Oh, fan to the end. She never got to see the finale. So here you go, Jo. Here's the wrap-up. Here's the finale. Cora blossoms as the Hospital League's president. Isabel, Matthew's mother, marries Lord Merton. You following me? Those of you who know this, right? Okay. Mary marries Robert, her commoner boyfriend. Robert and Tom open up a car shop, Jo. Tom is falling for Edith's new editor. Edith marries Bertie and becomes a marchioness. I don't know how you pronounce that. Is that right, Mick? Marchioness? She becomes a marchioness and she outranks Lady Mary. What a scandal, Jo. Oh, my God. Anna delivers her baby in Mary's bedroom. Mr. Bates is by her side when it's announced that he has a son. So Jo Mosley got a teaching position, okay? Cool. With Mrs. Padmore's encouragement, Daisy finally thinks that Andrew is pretty darn hot. Mr. Mason has the hots for Mrs. Padmore. The butler Carson's palsy forces him to retire after so many years. Mr. Barrow returns to Downton after leaving for another job. But guess what? He comes back. And guess what else? The entire 6 seasons, everybody loved to hate Mr. Barrow. And Mr. Barrow gets appointed the head butler. So, Jo, there you go. That's the finale.
Well, I certainly feel enlightened now. Is there anybody else who would like to come share something about Jo? Doug Williams.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. This crowd seems like you're in very good shape, and I hope you are. The reason why I'm saying this is that sometimes when you lose someone of such magnitude, there's pain involved. And just in case any of you have any pain at all, I have an offer for you. Would you give up having known her to escape that pain? Thank you.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Pamela Johnson, our host, our den mother, the person that takes care of our club here at Celebrity Centre.
Hi, everyone. I know you think that I could shut up once, but I can't. I thank you all for being here. I am the Public Relations and Community Affairs Director for Celebrity Centre. I am the den mother of Renaissance speakers. So I've worked here 45 years, and I helped start with Richard, and we all know that story. But Jo and I go way back, and for all those years that she's been here at Celebrity Centre. And I feel in this room, and I feel like I must say this for her to you, and that is to keep communicating to our world. Our world does not have great communicators. And unfortunately, this thing has cut communication more than open it. And live communication can melt barriers, can enlighten people, can awaken minds, can melt ridges and barriers. And that's what Jo did. And Jo, thank you so much. My job very much is to make others leaders so that they can go out in the world and do and be the opinion leaders of Earth and reverse the dwindling spiral of society. Wow. Small job, but you know, that's what you guys do. And that's what Jo did, and I thank her so much for making you available to be leaders, seeing that within yourself, knowing that your voice does make a change in others. Your granting of another, the kind of beingness I heard in this room, you see that special quality, you know, no matter what kinds of invalidation or making less of you or terror because you'd have to talk in front of people, no matter what you've ever encountered, your beingness, your willingness to communicate is so much senior to everything else that you reach out and you actually create human understanding. This might be better than bombs. I don't know. Maybe there's a few leaders on our planet who could learn from you. Maybe you could stand up and tell a group or a community or a club or, you know, go to a convention or something, and encourage those leaders to do what you do. And that is to reach out and communicate the truth, communicate in a live way, not on a text. Use your ability to communicate with or reach out and connect with another individual and create human understanding. And thank you, Jo, for doing that. And I applaud all of you. Mr. Hubbard, who started this club and inspired Richard to start this club and started Celebrity Centre, said, "He who can truly communicate is a higher being who creates new worlds." And that's what you do at Toastmasters. I thank you so much. I'm just a beginner, but I'm learning from you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And yes, to Pamela's credit, she actually came and joined our club and participated through our programs in addition to being here supporting us. Carol Worthy.
Hi, I'm Carol Worthy. My husband, Ray Corns, is over there, and he was twice the president of our wonderful club, Renaissance Speakers. It gives me such a joy to see everybody here, to know how much we value what she has given to us personally in our lives. And for those who don't know me, I'm only mentioning this so that you understand what I'm going to say about Jo afterwards. I'm a highly trained classical composer. I can write for full orchestra. I've also worked in the theater. I'm a writer of various different things, and I'm also a painter. So I celebrate through my art forms the benefits that beauty and wisdom can impart to others. And I want to thank Jo very, very deeply from my heart for two areas that she signaled and was so classy in her ability to impart to our club, and I'm sure through even her executive jobs and her work in the district and whatever. And one of them is her passion for the theater. And I want to thank you, Jo, very, very much for your illuminating discussions at various different brilliant speeches, very alive speeches, where she showed us through theater and through public speaking skills, which she embodied, how we can use position on the stage and how we can bring to life our message through theater without acting, but really truly connecting with our audience the way great theater can. And then as a classical musician, I would share from time to time some of the things that were happening in my music. And she came up to me one time, and it was an extremely special jewel in my life. And she mentioned to me, oh, I love, not only because I'm Italian, I love opera, I love classical music, I love all kinds of really good music. And I said, yeah, so do I. And I want to thank her for being the epitome of class. Thank you, Jo. I know you will continue to create a much better world through the arts, through communication, and through friendship.
Thank you, Carol. We probably have time for one more if anybody else is interested. Please. Well, no, come on up.
I'm Charlie Patton. I was district governor down in District 5 in 2009-2010. I think as Toastmasters and as business people, we can all agree that at some point we realize that as well as we think we've been doing, and in my case, I led my district to distinguished status, and I thought that was a pretty good job. We need somebody to show us how much better we can be. I've heard so many people talk this afternoon about the depth to which Jo touched them. And I'm going to tell you about the breadth of her reach. District 5 is down in San Diego. Why would I come all the way up here and brave all that traffic, cross Pendleton, to visit this little district when I already knew that I had been successful? It's because I did not know what kind of a buzzsaw I was going to run into. I was visiting districts because I was looking for further inspiration on how to help my district. And when I found District 52, this little kernel of energy, I realized I had found something special. Every district has something special about it, but in the case when I ran into 52, I found the heart of excellence. And what for me turned out to be the inspiration to try even harder. How easy is it to be satisfied with what we've already done until you meet somebody who can show you how much better it can be? Jo inspires me that way to this day. And I can't honestly say I know where she is or how she's affecting you or what's to come, except that I will always take that lesson that I saw her live with me through the rest of my life.
Michael, come on up.
I thought Renaissance Speakers was Lance's club. Then I found out it's Roberta's club. It's Joe's club. How could I have missed that? I'm Michael Osier. I'm from the Inland Empire, San Bernardino Riverside, which is in Toastmaster World District 12. Joe and I and all of us that were in the region, which covers Southern California, Arizona, and Mexico, all went through everything, all the training from 2011 on together, and we inspired each other. But Joe had the magic because she was the only one of us that was distinguished every year in all the roles. And I used to rub her jacket, hoping it would rub off. But I just remember at mid-year training, we were in San Diego, and we took a picture with all of us. And that's a picture I posted on Facebook. And I said, this is it. This is the magic. And sure enough, 5 of the 7 of us were distinguished or better that year because we inspired each other. You said San Diego. It went to Arizona. It was in Inland Empire. And it was just, that's the kind of breadth that she had. Now, I didn't run into the buzzsaw, but it was more, if I can do it, you can do it, and we're going to be on stage together.
Lance Webster, folks.
I've never been introduced by someone named Lance before. It's kind of interesting. I didn't know Jo as long or as well as many of you here did, but she touched my life profoundly with 2 questions. The first question is, after 13 years, why the heck aren't you a DTM? We did a little exploring and found out I only had an HBL to do, and we did that. The second question was, why don't you run for Lieutenant Governor of Marketing? I had no answer to give to her because of the way she asks a question like that, as you know. You kind of look at a person's life from a couple of perspectives. Is their life a joyful life? And hers definitely was. Another way you look at a person's life is, did they touch and move and inspire others? Everyone in this room is here because she did. And there's a third way, and that is, what is the effect that the people she touched has on others? Do we do things beyond ourselves that affect many, many people? And did that come from something that Jo touched us, some way Jo touched us? With that in mind, as the upcoming district director for District 52, I'm going to dedicate the year ahead not to Jo's memory, but to Jo's influence on so many people. May it continue. In the year ahead, our slogan is going to be in District 52, every member counts. And I think she would approve of that. And I think she would like that. Lance.
As I say, speak now, forever hold your peace, right? Okay, keeping on schedule. In putting this service together and in everything we've heard, it's a joyful celebration of how someone truly touched our life. And it's so easy in life to get consumed with what we're told is the finality of death. But as I stated in the beginning, we are here acknowledging the fact that it was Jo's body that died, and that the life force, the purpose, the individual, the personality, the twinkle, that is Jo, continues on. And I was searching for something that really embodied that. And there are 2 things I want to close with. And one of them is a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson that states, "To laugh often and love much, to win the respect of intelligent persons and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a little better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, a redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. And I think when I listen to everything that we have heard here today, that embodies, encompasses what Jo did in her life and what represented Jo to all of us. And the last thing I want to share with you is something that has comforted me. And perhaps like me, you have run into somebody in life and had an immediate connection with that person and possibly didn't know why. But there was something familiar. And it is a quote that, of all things I remember from a mini-series of Marco Polo, I think it was certainly last millennium, I can tell you that much. But as you know, Marco Polo traveled to China and became great friends with the Kublai Khan of China, and he was leaving to return back to Italy and was very saddened by the fact that he would not see the Kublai Khan anymore. And the Kublai Khan said this to him, and it has stuck with me ever since because for me it resonated truth for me. And I want to close with this quote, which simply said that true friendship is a bond which crosses all boundaries of space and time. And I think with Jo, we have all had experienced true friendship, and we can rest assured that that bond will cross all boundaries of space and time. With that, I call this service to a close, and we are welcome to remain and enjoy the fellowship with each other and the joyful celebration of Jo Lauricella as we have known her. And I thank you all for coming here this afternoon.